Hi, my name is Kristen Lavery. I'm the Assistant Director of the Leonard Gelfand Center for Service Learning and Outreach. And today we have a new episode of the LGC STEM Career Explorations for you. We're going to be talking to a new CMU undergraduate student in this series.
Hi, I'm Stuart. I'm 21, and I'm a rising senior majoring in physics at CMU.
Thanks for joining us today, Stuart. So we're going to dive right in here. I wanted to ask you a little bit to think back on your experiences. What was your greatest influence? And how did this spark your current interest in your major of physics now?
So, like a lot of STEM interested kids, I used to want to be an astronaut. And there's a museum in New Hampshire called the McAuliffe Shepherd Center. And they hold an essay contest, which is the Alex Higgins Memorial Scholarship Essay Contest, where you write essays about things like what would your Mars robot look like, or like what would your moon base look like. And then if you win the essay contest, they send you to space camp in Alabama for free. And I really wanted to go to space camp. But at that time, the only way I could go would be to write the essay contest. So I entered the essay contest every year from 5th grade to like 7th grade. And it took 3 years of writing essays until I got to go. But I did get to go, and it was really fun. And having to work for it, I guess, made it more rewarding, and I really appreciated the actual experience.
I can imagine that was an awesome experience for you. So cool and unique and definitely STEM related, which is what we're really excited about here on campus. So then after you had this experience of going to space camp, what made you want to come to CMU?
Well, one thing I noticed about CMU when I came to visit my junior year in high school with my mom was that CMU is really known for being a STEM school. They have, the great computer science department and College of Science, but also it's known as an art school, which I thought was really awesome because I'm really into music. I play the drums. And so I wanted to go somewhere where there were a lot of artists. And to this day, most of my friends at CMU, well, I have a lot of friends in like science fields, but most of my friends, like both my roommates, are composers, and I'm friends with a lot of the music majors, and I play music with people. So that was something that was really important to me, and that's kind of what set CMU apart for me.
Having a diverse campus, I can see, would be really important to you then, just to be able to blend the two. So now we're going to move on to the research part of your experiences here at CMU. So what led you to become a researcher in Dr. John Allison's physics lab?
So honestly, all I really did was I talked to one of my professors from freshman year that I had a relationship with, and I said, hey, I want to be involved in some research, because I knew that was one of the things I wanted to do. That's why we become scientists. We want to do research and discover things. So I wanted to really get into it, and I told my physics 1 professor, hey, I'm good at building stuff. I like building things. Do you know anyone that needs help? And then he put me in touch with the CMS group that was working on the clean room. And at that time, it was not really built at all yet, the main clean room. So there was a lot of work to do. And yeah, from there, they kind of just showed me how to do the things in the lab.
You mentioned something called a CMS. What does that stand for?
So the CMS stands for the Compact Muon Solenoid. It's one of the big detectors at CERN, which is where they smash particles in the Large Hadron Collider. And it's shaped like a big cylinder. So if you imagine the protons being collided inside it, smashing together, and then it's shaped like a cylinder so it can capture all the particles that fly out. Because we can't look inside atoms, so we have to smash them and then see what comes out.
Interesting. So tell me, what are you working on in relation to this CMS and this project at CERN?
So right now, the CMS is in the process of being upgraded. And in order to do that, CMU is part of manufacturing new components for it. But we can't just build them in any room. We need something that's called a clean room, which is a controlled environment, free of dust, controlled humidity, controlled temperature. So it's the ideal environment for manufacturing these sensitive electronics in. Because even tiny pieces of dust getting on the detector plates, which is what we're making, they're like shaped like hexagons, and then you put them together to make the detector. But even a tiny piece of dust getting on them could mess up the electronics. So we take measurements of the dust particles in the room to make sure that the room is actually clean. And we measure for 5 micron, 1 micron, and 1/2 micron dust particles.
That's really tiny. So I'm thinking, just as a reference for things on the nanoscale, isn't it that a human red blood cell is about 5 microns across, and a human hair is on average about 75 microns. So these are really tiny particles.
Yeah, so it's not like we can just look at the room and see if it's visually clean. We need to measure the air with special instruments that can detect those small dust particles that are invisible to us.
Part of your responsibilities, as I understand it too, are to actually construct the space itself, to construct the clean room. So how are you going about doing that? Like, what equipment are you using for this?
Yeah, so my main jobs are to sort of maintain the upkeep of the large clean room, and then I'm working on finishing the small clean room, which isn't operable yet. But usually I just use basic construction materials. Like when I was putting up the walls and stuff, I'd, saw the beams and then drill places to attach the walls and things like that. But also I use a lot of stuff that's just, scissors and tape and glue, because the room is always leaking and letting dust in. So we need to go find the leaks and, tape up the holes. So if you imagine, it's kind of like a balloon. It has positive pressure. So if there's any leak in the balloon, then we have to patch it up with tape or silicone sealant or whatever we're using.
The cleaning aspect of it really sounds like something that's nonstop. Is that the most challenging aspect of this research position, or is it something else?
Well, I'd say the cleaning is a lot of work, but it's not necessarily the most challenging. I think what's the most challenging is just that anyone that's ever tried to build a large project knows that something will go wrong. It's never going to be exactly how you imagine how it's going to work out in your head. So when something doesn't work out how you thought it would in your head, you need to be able to adapt your plan and then figure out how to modify your plans when they don't turn out like you expected them to.
I think that creative problem solving is great in any area, and especially in this lab. Now, looking towards the future, do you have any plans for post-graduation yet? And if so, what are they?
Well, right now I'm actually working on applying to grad school. I have no idea what grad school yet, but I've been studying for the GRE and, making sure my grades are good. But who knows?
With what you've learned up until today, if you could go back and talk to yourself as a middle schooler, what would you say about the years ahead? And what advice would you give to yourself? And maybe what advice would you give to current middle and high school students?
Well, I don't want to lecture too much here, but this is really important advice. kids, get your sleep. I know when I was in middle school, I developed a lot of habits of procrastinating. And when you get to high school, you're going to have more work, and it's just going to get harder and harder. And you'll end up staying up late and pulling all-nighters, which is terrible for your health at that age. And it's really just unnecessary. I have more work now than I did in high school, and I get more sleep. So just work on your study habits and managing time. But most importantly, get sleep, because your academic success is not worth your health.
Definitely. I think that's a good message to share with our middle and high school students as well. So I think that's all the questions that I have for you today, Stuart. I wanted to say thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you, everyone, for watching this episode of the LGC STEM Career Explorations. Please be sure to check out our lab tours.